the last few months, we've sailed 2,500 miles from Malaysia to Indonesia. Broken engine mounts, a snapped deck fitting, dirty fuel, charging issues, a fishing net around the prop, 40-knot storms, and 5 diesel filters later, we have to wonder if the stress and anxiety is worth it. It's been incredible, incomparable, and at times impossible. But the seas we sail, the people we meet, and the new cultures we experience are the reason why we chose this lifestyle. And so, here we are, on the last leg of this epic journey. Of course, the adventure aboard OYSTER wouldn't be complete without one more problem. We tried to anchor, took my eye off, f***ed up big time.
Cursing, swearing, banging, hacking. This is Medang. We came in at 4 o'clock this morning, went straight to sleep and didn't get up till 10. Realised I hadn't actually recorded anything of this place. It's just a very small island. It's actually a well-known spot. A lot of people on the rally apparently come here. It's well known in the cruising guide, and it just provides a bit of protection from the southeasterly winds, which are still blowing, as you may be able to hear. So we're literally just spent a day just chilling. Tomorrow we can just see the peak of Lombok, and that's where we're heading. So it's a 40-mile run tomorrow to the northeast corner, and then another 40 miles to our final destination. Literally our final destination. In the meantime, look at this. Look at this. Double rainbow. Isn't that lovely?
Well, that's the end of 24 hours in the very pretty island of Medang. We were going to go to Medana, our destination, in one go, but we decided when we looked at the chart it would mean whatever time we left we'd have to do an all-nighter to get there in the daylight. So we've decided to make a stop on the way. So a day sail today, no night sailing. But lovely island, very pretty island. It was a nice anchorage with only 10 metres that we had to anchor in, 10 metres of water, a sandy bottom. Nobody on the beach, no buildings, nothing. Saw one tiny little fishing boat. Beautiful sound of the birds in the morning, and fantastic sunset last night. Yeah, what a great place. Another very, very pretty anchorage on this sojourn from Bitung to Medana.
Well, let's all go this morning. Just as we were weighing anchor, Liz said, "Can I put the coffee on, please?" And I said, "No, we haven't got enough power." She said, "But we always put the coffee on when we weigh anchor." And that's because normally when we weigh anchor, the engine is on for a number of hours until we find light winds. But this morning, it's been blowing 15-20 knots. In fact, it was blowing 15-20 knots throughout yesterday, throughout the whole of last night. So I knew as soon as we left our anchorage and got the sails out, the engine was going to be off. And sure enough, here we are. It's hitting 22 knots of wind, and we're hitting up to 6.5 knots, even with some reef sails. But the highlight was seeing a huge dolphin, and then next thing we know, Liz's line started buzzing.
There's tuna. Haven't caught a tuna for years. I don't think we've had a tuna. Well, we had an albacore, but Lovely tuna, lovely big fat tuna going in the freezer.
So we're still steaming along here and just seeing our first vessel, which eventually appeared on AIS. We think it's a converted Finese. It's classified as a passenger Class B on its AIS. But his MMSI number is complete gobbledygook, and he didn't move out far away. He is under engine, we are under sail, and he's going a lot faster than us as well. Wanker.
So we are nearly at our destination, the island of Lombok. First night on Lombok we're going to be anchored at Gili Lawang, which is about 9 miles that way, and in the background that is Lombok with Mount Rinjani, or it's actually a volcano, just under 4,000 metres. It's huge. I think I read somewhere it's the second highest volcano in Indonesia. I don't know which the highest is. Anyway, that volcano seems to take up about half of Lombok. It is massive. So Gili Lawang, 9 miles away, Lombok. This is where we're going to be really for the next few months. It'll be our base anyway.
So as we approach Lombok, we've just gone from 500 odd metres to 12-13 metres as we pass over the bank here, which comes off this island and the island down there. And now we're sort of going up this channel that's created by those islands. Now we did have 2.5 knots of current sort of across the beam. We were having to steer 30-40 odd degrees off course in order to maintain our course, but it seems as if that current's kind of followed us round a little, but it's dropped to 1 knot. Thank God we're not battling against it. That was my big worry. So we've only got about 3 miles to go before we drop the hook. Woohoo! Penultimate anchorage before our final destination. So we're just approaching the gap between the two outer islands here. There was an option to come in between the two. There's a channel, it's only about 200 metres wide, but I opted against it because, of course, when we left this morning, we were surfing down 1.5 metre, sometimes 2 metre waves. I had no idea what kind of conditions it would be like at this end. Well, as it turns out, of course, it's relatively flat, although out there is that 2 knot current. So I didn't really fancy the idea of doing a bit of hero sailing, something that we've discussed in our podcast before now. For the sake of adding an extra half an hour onto the journey, we've opted for the safer route. Now, here's the funny thing. I've just spotted a catamaran. And that is the first leisure sail vessel we have seen since Lembeh, so in over 1,000 miles.
Despite the pilot guide claiming there was room for 6 boats, this anchorage was going to be a challenge. According to Navionics, the yellow area shows just reef, so we were relying solely on satellite images and eyeballing. And with the cat anchored squarely in the middle, there was no wiggle room. If anything were to go wrong, we would be in a lot of trouble. So a pretty narrow entrance here with reef either side and then a dog leg through to the anchorage. We were trying to avoid staying here because there's already another boat here and we didn't want to fall into the trap of just following them, but it is the best anchorage here because it gives you complete protection, and that's what the cruising guide said as well. So yeah, we're coming in to join these guys. Nervous?
No, I was when it said 3 metres. Actually, that's the equivalent of 4.5, I think. But yeah, it got very shallow on the entrance there.
You see this all the way around Southeast Asia, from Thailand through all the way through Malaysia and Indonesia. At low tide, you get the locals coming out and they're picking up crabs and mollusks on anything they can. In fact, someone just asked me on one of our earlier videos what they use for lures, what the locals use when they're fishing, because we often see them, as we show you, in their small boats. And I'm wondering if some of what they're doing now is collecting animals for lures, because they do go out after the sun's gone down, quite a lot of them, and you just sit and they're just fishing, they're just casting off the back of their little boat. So it could be, well, not only stuff that they're eating as they find it, but also using for lures for bigger fish, but we don't really know. That's just my imagination. While I'm prattling on about fishing, Jamie takes us in and finds the most central spot to drop the hook. We do so in 6 metres, but with the reef less than 20 metres away, we decide to weigh anchor. And that's when disaster struck. The chain got stuck with 6 metres to go, leaving the anchor dragging on the seabed.
Why are we exiting the anchorage, you may ask? Well, we've managed to get the chain caught, and the anchor, we got the anchor down, and Liz had put too much down, so I told her to take up 10, and as she did, chain got stuck, and yes, in the windlass itself, and the anchor wasn't anchored, and we were floating literally metres away from various rocks and reefs, so we thought it'd be more prudent to get back out the anchorage and deal with this confused chain. Running out of light.
We tried to anchor in a tiny space where there was one other boat, and we were both thinking to ourselves, if it blows up, this is really dodgy. And while I was bringing up the 10 metres of chain, because I put 20 instead of 10, because I misheard you, so I was bringing it back up, so there's only 10 metres of chain out. We were in 3 metres of water. Took my eye off. You always see me flaking. One of the reasons we do that is you get a build up of chain, and then the whole windlass seizes. And I was watching the chain, fucked up big time, and the chain all got stuck, so we couldn't take it down, and we couldn't bring the anchor up, and it was just floating there, and we were that close either side. Anyway, we made it out. We found this better anchorage, which you wanted to go to originally, and you managed to undo the chain.
But not without much cursing, swearing, banging, hacking, but yeah, we got it off. So this anchorage here, according to the pilot guide, is not suitable for this season, but if the weather stays as it is, i.e. benign, then it should be all right. So that's southeast. If it does blow up from the southeast, we're straight on the nose.
I'd rather be here than at the other place.
Yeah, and I think Liz has a very good point. That anchorage there, apparently it's enough for 3 or 4 boats.
One.
Bullshit. One boat, and that catamaran had the spot. There's no way I would have slept tonight comfortably. So yeah, we've done the right thing, and at least here, if it does blow up, it's completely open and we can get out, providing of course we can get the chain up without f***ing it up again.
Yes, I'm sure we can.
Morning folks. Well, this is it. This is our last leg before getting to Medana Bay and to the boatyard. Hopefully it will be without incident, and that this trip in terms of video footage will be short. As the crow flies, it's actually only 18 miles away, but of course we've got this great big peak here to get around, so we're going around the top.
Welcome to Lombok. This is it. This is the place we've been heading for the last, I don't know, it seems like years, last couple of months. And it's going to be our base for the next few months, and on where we're going to do quite a bit of repair and maintenance to OYSTER, so you can look forward to some nice videos about what we're doing to OYSTER coming up shortly. And yes, it's a beautiful island. Behind me there is an amazing view of these incredibly high mountains, the top one being a volcano at 3,900 plus meters. Lots to see. Yeah, so very excited. So our last leg of the journey now. We are going to go to Medana Bay, about 35-40 miles, depending on where the skipper decides to take the boat exactly. Very excited. It's going to be home for a short while, well, a few months anyway. The remainder of our journey was uneventful, and to be honest, we were so shattered we didn't do any recording. But I'm happy to say the final 35 miles of our passage from Sabah to Lombok was hassle-free, and it was a relief to arrive at the haven of Medana Bay Marina.